After 6 years of doing an audio-only version of my podcast, I decided to start a video version, and I had an aversion to a video podcast because I was really worried that the workflow was going to be something that was just going to make it really complicated and way too not sustainable. And I've actually spent a long time trying to put together a smooth, simple video podcast workflow. I'm quite happy with it and it's worked really well overall. So I wanted to share that with you, both the equipment setup, which is a lot of stuff you've probably seen before, and also the software workflow side of things. My goal with the podcast workflow is that it is as simple as possible. Ideally, I do everything in real time, and by the time I'm done recording, the episode is finished. And I just have to upload it and do all that stuff, and then we're good to go. Doesn't always work out that way, but most of the time it does. So this is my main shot that you're looking at right now. It's what I use a lot of the times, and I can switch between everything just using my Stream Deck here. I could also use the Stream Deck pedal, but a thing with this setup is the pedal kind of bounces around. Sometimes I have it here for stream, sometimes I have it for other projects, and I wanted everything here to kind of be permanently in place and sort of turnkey, so I just turn it all on, and then I can just push the buttons and go. And the Stream Deck is always here. And it kind of works because I have more than 3 scenes, so kind of going between them works. I have an intro and an outro that I can play, so I press record, play the video, and then I can jump to, or it actually automatically goes to my main scene here. This is all through Ecamm Live. And then the other thing that I use a lot is actually a Keynote presentation. So then through Ecamm, I can, adjust my crop if I need to. And basically, I just have me over here on the side, and then a 4x3 Keynote presentation. This is one where I was talking about cameras and camera YouTube and all that kind of stuff. So I was going through a timeline of my cameras. And this works really, really well. I can click through other things. We have like channel check-in segments. I even have like some music that plays sometimes. So when I have recurring segments, you will hear music at the start of it, which is kind of cool. That's just running through the Rodecaster there, which gives the show sort of like a specific feel, and you can tell when different segments have started and different segments have ended, and it also kind of keeps me on track. The Keynote is a really good way to keep me on track. That's what I have found for sure. And I actually borrowed, or probably better yet, just stole the idea of using a Keynote presentation like this from Brody Brazil, who is a professional sports broadcaster, but also YouTuber. He's got a really awesome channel, several really awesome channels, and he uses Keynote presentations a lot, and they're all just cloud-based. And what I like about that is, even though I really did want to do a video version of the podcast, I didn't just want it to be this one shot. I kind of wanted there to be more reason for it to be visual. And so by adding in the Keynote, it adds that visual element without taking away really anything from someone who is just listening to the audio. So it enhances the podcast, but if someone's listening to just the audio, they don't feel like they're missing out on other things. So I can just kind of go through like this. I'm going to drag my Ecamm window over here just so I can, I guess, still be in the frame. But this is what my window looks like when my monitor looks like. It's an ultra wide monitor. That's why it's formatted in sort of a strange way here. This is what it looks like when I'm doing the show, and it's all through Ecamm Live. Again, normally my monitor window here is actually in the Elgato prompter, so I can just look at it right here, see that everything's still recording, see that, I'm in focus and stuff like that. I have my Keynote presentation here. This is a 4x3 Keynote, and what's really cool about this is it is a cloud Keynote. I know I'm like a decade behind on the times here. I've used Keynote for like 20 years, but I've only started using the cloud version now. But what that basically means is I can edit it on a different computer. So I can be on my MacBook, I can be in a different location, I can put the show together, and then I can come in here, open it, and everything's ready to go to record. So I don't have to even be locked in here, editing the show. And that's really nice because throughout the week, I can sort of throw bits and pieces, and then when it's time to record, everything's just in here ready to go. And I just have this as a 4x3 Keynote, so that way I can have this sort of shot here. When it's 16:9, I can be on the side, and then the Keynote presentation can be over there, and then I can jump back to the main shot over here. And what's cool about the Keynote is not only do I usually have bullet points and visuals that kind of keep the discussion on track, but you can also have your presenter notes. So as I go through my slides, I can have my notes here that other people don't see, so they don't have to be super grammatically correct or anything. It's not really a script, it's just more outlines. And by the time I go through all of these slides in a segment, like these pink slides are my main segment of the show. That's usually the main topic of the episode. By the time I go through all these and I talk about the bullet points and I talk about the presenter notes, I know that I've covered everything that I wanted to cover. I don't have to worry about like, wait, did I say that thing? Did I hit that point? Did I leave something out? Because I know it's already there. It's already been outlined for me, even if it kind of goes in different directions. So I have sort of that as my main segment. I do usually have an intro that's a mic of the week where I explain, oh, there's a song that plays. This is where I explain my mic of the week segment. And then I've got other things like my channel check-in that I mentioned. That's where I kind of explain what I'm working on with the channel. I've got a gear spotlight. All of these have music. I've got listener messages. If people send things in, I can sort of put up their comments or play their audio messages or even play their video messages sometimes. So this workflow has been just absolutely awesome, and it's worked really, really well. And what that ends up looking like is over here in my Ecamm scenes, you can kind of see I've got 5, 6 scenes. I can count. The black one here is just what I start. So I press record on Ecamm. It's on this black scene, and then I basically immediately switch to the intro, which is a video file that plays automatically, and that's the podcast intro, and then Ecamm automatically switches to me, and then I can do the show however I want. This Safari one is just if I ever need to show a web browser, which I don't need to do in every episode. Then there's the keynote, and then there's the outro. And when the outro is finished, Ecamm automatically stops playing. So I'll play the whole thing, and this is what it looks like and how it works. I'll do the podcast intro, and then it'll cut to me, and we'll kind of go through a mock version of the show. Hello and welcome. My name is Tom, and this is a very real podcast episode that you're listening to right now. I went to the main shot, no hands. My mic was muted during that intro, so the music was playing. That's just a video file that played, and then it went straight to this shot where I have my audio going through the Rodecaster, and then I can go to the Keynote presentation where this week we were talking about should you use a personal name or like a different name for your YouTube channel. Do you want it to be your actual name or not? I can go back and forth between me on this shot and me over here in the Keynote presentation. And then when everything is done, I can say, thanks for listening. Hope you have a safe, happy, healthy, fun rest of your week. I'll see you next time. And then I press the outro. And then I don't need to make you sit through the whole outro, but the way Ecamm works is I have it set so when the outro's done, it ends the recording automatically, and then I am done. If I make a huge, egregious mistake, then I do put it in Final Cut Pro and cut that out. But hopefully I don't have to do that. And most of the time, as soon as that's done, then I am basically done. And so what I do is I upload that video file to YouTube. I export an audio version. I just open up like the Ecamm QuickTime file and export audio only, and then upload that to Buzzsprout to host the audio version of the podcast. And then I'm done. Hopefully at some point I've remembered to take a thumbnail. The thing that's a bummer about having to do a video podcast is then you got to do thumbnails. And sometimes, like, I don't want to spend hours on thumbnails for a video podcast. So I hope sometimes YouTube just picks a good auto-generated one. Otherwise, depending on the subject, I might take a screenshot or something, put it in Photoshop, add a little bit of text, and then that's that. So that's what the podcast looks like for the viewer. That's how the workflow looks for me. And now let's talk about some of the gear and the equipment that I use to actually make that happen. So this is the setup. It's basically my desk setup that I've talked about a couple of times with a few changes and a few bits of things being streamlined. Now, when it comes to the video side of things of the video podcast, I originally had this whole desk setup based around the camera I'm filming on right now, which is the Sony a7 IV. And the reason for that was because this is a 4K camera, and I had this camera recording in 4K running through the Elgato Camlink 4K, and that let me do 4K streams and video calls and all that, which was awesome and worked really, really well. This right here kind of changed everything, which is the Rodecaster video, which is basically what I'm using as my capture card, even when I am only using a single input, like this camera here. I do have an HDMI cable ready to go if I need a secondary input, and if I want to do other things like overhead shots, it just makes it easy. I also take this and move it out a lot when I want to set up other things, but this is my main capture card here because I really like using it a lot. And I could actually run the entire podcast very similarly to how I'm doing it through the Rodecaster video. I could just have different scenes and play back the video, and that was actually my original idea, but Ecamm just kind of lets me dial in. It lets me add a little more like graphical flair to things, and it does make it a little bit easier to incorporate the Keynote presentation. Since I don't have to bring the computer in as an HDMI source, I can just play the Keynote window in my monitor's window and make it a source in Ecamm. And so after I press play, when I'm over here, what I can do is I can just select Keynote as the source in this split screen over here, and then it works incredibly well. The other problem I was having with the a7 IV was that I have this 24mm prime lens, a Sony lens. This is my main lens, and so I was switching it between the camera over here and my FX3 when I'm filming videos, and that just honestly became kind of a pain to constantly do. And then I also use this camera as a third or sometimes even fourth camera when I'm filming my regular videos. It's also the camera that I take a lot when I go places for photos and videos. So basically I was taking the a7 IV on and off the desk setup constantly. So since I was doing everything in 1080, I decided to unretire my old Canon EOS R, make this my streaming camera, and then I have my Canon 35mm lens, which is the perfect focal length for this specific setup. And then I just have this powered through a dummy battery, and this never has to move. The only thing that ever moves from here is the prompter. Sometimes I take this off and put it on the FX3 over there, and sometimes I leave it here. Now I have been trying to figure out the perfect way to deal with this setup here. I was using a small rig camera mount for a while, and then I was using this Sure mini tripod on a super clamp, which worked really well, but this was still a little bit too tall. So once I put the tripod head on here, this camera was just a little bit too tall. It meant that the main shot over here kind of looked like this, where it was looking down at me and you could see like a lot of the floor and stuff, which I didn't like. I wanted it to be more eye level, where it just looked like we're talking at eye level and then you also can't see the floor. So I've been tinkering around with this little setup here from Triad Orbit. So this is a Triad Orbit clamp that then goes up here. And even though these don't look very big, they are incredibly strong. So if you've ever used any of the Triad Orbit stuff, it's really, really strong, and there's also other attachments and things. So I've been trying to figure out maybe there's ways I can even put other fun stuff around here. But this has put the camera at the perfect height once I have a video tripod head on it. Right now I've got the Shure Super 55 set up as my microphone, and that's on the Elgato Wave Arm Pro, which is the arm that I really like because it just has the pneumatic arm tube thing right here, so it just sort of stays wherever you put it. And it's super strong and works really well. I switch out my microphones for every episode, so this is not the only microphone I use here, it's just the one that's here right now. I do runs of 10 episode seasons, and so I'm using a different microphone in every episode this season, and at the end, in episode 10, I want to put clips from all of them and then have people vote on which one they think sounds the best. So far, these are the ones that I've used. I have 2 episodes left this season, and these are all the microphones that I've used so far in the podcast. I do have these Mackie CR 3.5 monitors here, which work really, really well. They're pretty affordable too. They're not like crazy, super high budget things. I don't do anything like mission critical on those. Those are kind of, I'm just doing like rough editing or listening to podcasts and music and stuff. Otherwise, I'm just always using my headphones, and this entire setup is still being run through my original base model M1 Mac Mini that's, 4+ years old at this point. It's always super fun and exciting to get new computers, so if you need one or you just like keeping up to date with things, that's awesome. But you don't necessarily need to always get everything brand new. This M1 Mac Mini has done almost all of my streaming, all of my podcasting, all of everything since I got it whenever they originally came out, and it's just the super cheapest base model version. So hopefully that shows how powerful that stuff is, even though it's not the newest. Things can be a little bit older and still operate fully in their prime, like me, who turns 40 this year. The monitors here, this is the same 34-inch monitor that I've used forever. It's an LG monitor. It's not 4K or anything. It's great. This one is actually a very old, like 10-year-old monitor that my wife, we did some upgrades in her office, and this was sort of a leftover, so I put it here, which does mean I actually took the Rodecaster Duo off of this dual VESA mount and put it here. So this is here, but the Rodecaster runs all of my audio, both from the microphone that I'm recording, and then also this USB channel has the audio that's coming from the Keynote presentation, so all of the segment music and things like that go through here. And if somebody sends a video or a voice message, this is how I can adjust their level right here. That works really well. I'm using the Stream Deck Plus, which is, it's a Stream Deck. They're really nice. And this one lets me then switch between the different scenes. And I like the knobs because they also let me control the prompter, especially like the brightness of the prompter, which sometimes it can cause a bit of glare if it's too bright, so I can turn that down really easily. And then since this is a video podcast setup, I do have to think about lighting. I have my main key light that I use for everything just kind of over here. These lights I have set up for this specific video just to kind of brighten things up. But normally that's kind of lighting the main ambience in the room. And then I have these Pavo tubes here, which are always there, but I just brighten them up a little bit because what that does is it sort of reflects them off the wall and then at me. But because they are pointed to the wall instead of being pointed directly at me, it doesn't hurt my eyes to just stare at them like this. This is not painful to look at when I'm sitting here, doing the podcast and things. And then I do have a small Nan light. What is this called? A Lido light. I don't even know if they make these anymore, honestly, but that is my hair light that shines down over here. So if you're interested in doing a video podcast, or maybe you already have one, I hope you're able to take some things away from this, some tidbits that are going to help you make it a little more sustainable a little less work and just a little more enjoyable overall. And speaking of things that are enjoyable, I enjoy everyone who helps support my channel through YouTube channel memberships. And if you want to learn a bit more about starting a podcast, check out my Ultimate Podcast Beginner's Guide right here.